Okay, and we are just about set up here. Let me make sure I can get our music playing and everything going. Okay. And I think we are live. Hello all newcomers and welcome back my fellow Aeternians. As always, it is me, Emperor AP. Today I am a little bit upset. We have Edwin Portillo joining us. How are you, Edwin? It's good to see you already. We have the Kingdom of Annie jumping in. Hey, I appreciate y'all. Good to see you, Annie. I am pissed. I am a little bit pissed right now. The Israel-Palestine conflict getting a lot worse, a lot more deadly today and yesterday. I was actually out of town. I was visiting some family, and things blew up, both figuratively and literally. Nathan said, give me a second. Yeah, absolutely. Nathan, actually, I'm excited to announce, is helping us further with our Instagram and Twitter, so if you are interested in that, you should go check them out. He actually just posted some information about our statistics versus Malassia's statistics on YouTube, so that's something worth checking out. Annie said, nice day. It's a beautiful day outside right now here in the Empire of Aeternia, but it is a horrible day in the Israel versus Palestine conflict, and so we want to talk a little bit about that and why that is, how that's happening. So we're going to go through that. Pug says hello. Hello, Pug. Kingdom of Scotland said, good morning, Your Imperial Majesty AP. How are you today? I'm doing well, and I hope you're doing well, King Andrew. Leanna said, greetings, AP. It's good to see you, Leanna. Sol de Oro said, assalamu alaikum. The Iraqi Brazilian is here. Assalamu alaikum. Sol, it is fantastic to see you. Edwin Portillo says, good. Hope you all are having a good day. Yes, again, in the Empire of Aeternia, we're having an alright day, but it is a sad day to see everything happening in Israel and Palestine. Israel, I am starting to lean away from their favor. I was trying to come into this conflict as neutral as possible. I was trying to come in and see both sides of it and try and understand what's happening. Israel's losing me. Israel's really losing me. There's a lot that's going on right now. There's a lot of tension still, and there are a lot of Israeli people being hurt, but one of the biggest things that Israel continues to just push on is expanding their border. That's something that's really, really concerning because it's pushing Palestinians who are native to Israel, who are Israeli citizens, out of their homes, out of their places of work, out of everything that is their lives, and just completely uprooting them and moving them. So a lot of people have started to compare that to apartheid, and that's a very concerning issue for Israel. That's something that's, starts getting into the territory of human rights violations. There's also a ton of bombing. The thing that has never ceased to amaze me about this situation is that both Israel and Israel is bombing Palestine in these very, very centralized urban areas, and is doing so because they're claiming that Hamas combatants are hiding out in these metropolitan buildings. Hamas is bombing Israel purposefully in a very similar way, targeting civilian populations. So both sides are targeting civilian populations, but the thing that bothers me is that one of them is like a radical, like external group, to the state. Hamas is not directly involved, is not directly sponsored by Palestine, but Israel is just doing that as their government's policy, is just bombing and hitting, hospitals and hitting office buildings and things like that as the policy of their nation. Of course, they claim it in self-defense, but it is a very proactive, very forceful form of self-defense. They have the Iron Dome, which is actually providing self-defense and stopping Hamas rockets, but then they're going ahead further and saying, you know what, we're just going to preemptively strike on some of these things that we consider targets, which have hit civilians, which have, they're just saying, oh, well, it sucks that we hit civilians, but there were like 43 people that died in like a single bombing that Israel did, and it's really concerning. So Edwin says, good, hope you all are having a good day. Soul says, I recommend you to watch a video called Abby Martin Exposes Zionism in Israel on Joe Rogan. It explains a lot about Palestinian-Israel situation. It's 25 minutes. We should watch that at some point. Soul said, hey, Leanna. Leanna said, greetings, and told everybody greetings. Annie said, I know how to settle the conflict. Just invade Israel and Palestine and give it to Egypt. This is kind of mean. Oh, God, that would throw everything into whack as well. Because it's a big, like, Christian, Jewish, and Muslim place of historical importance. So doing, upheaving all of that and then throwing it into another situation would make it even worse. I don't think Egypt would want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Leanna said, greetings, Pug. Jaya said, that's not fair. Malasia uploads like less than 4 videos per year. What you talking about, Jaya? So we are absolutely trying to like catch up. Scotland says, I'm fine, thank you, Your Imperial Majesty. Edwin says, greetings, Taylor. Leanna says, greetings, Nathan. Leanna says, greetings, Annie. Soul says, Israel does this thing since its 1949 creation. In the West Bank, the situation is worse. They're shooting even children just to accidentally walk up to a checkpoint. It is. It's a really crazy situation. And then there are people on the Hamas side who are like crashing into like border guards and stuff like that. The thing that's crazy about it is it's a guerrilla tactic sort of war from the Hamas side, and it's just a full-on like bombing campaign for the Israeli side. So it's really weird because it seems like Hamas is blanket attacking as well, but at least some of their individual targets are just direct onto people who are shown as military people in Israel and people who are directly a part of the government, a part of those institutions that they're trying to stop. But the Israeli bombings, they claim that it's areas that are of Hamas leadership, but it's hard to prove because they're mixed in with civilians. So it's absolutely insane. Annie says, this is going to be long. Agreed. I don't think the fighting is going to be over for a long time. It's brutal. Leanna said, greetings, Jaya. Scotland said, good morning, Leanna. How are you today? Soul says, pro-Israel people are saying that everything is Hamas, but there is no proof of it. Agreed. It seems like a legitimate, apartheid issue. This is a big deal. Leanna says, I'm well, Scotland. How are you? Annie says, so much religion. There is so much stuff going on right now, and it's a lot to do with religion. It's a lot to do with the precedent that's been set by continual wars over hundreds of years, but it's nevertheless terrible to see that people to this day are being murdered over it. Innocent people in their homes, children going to school, are sick people with COVID. They both still have COVID stuff going on. It's like watching 2 people who have the flu get into a fist fight. It's dumb. What's happening? It's so concerning, and I don't understand why there is no I watched the interview the other day, and I want to pull this up in a minute, but I watched the other interview yesterday with Benjamin Netanyahu on CNN, and it was I think it was it was MS, it was something. He was on giving an interview the other day, and it's really weird because they say that it's not a war, it's just this conflict, it's just these bombings back and forth. But how can you send bombs to another country and not call that war, but you can't send troops in to infiltrate, because that would be war? That's so confusing. You can't have troops stationed somewhere. You can't send in teams to go and attack the individual targets you're trying to hit, which are apparently these terrorist cells, but you can just bomb a whole building. It's crazy. And they hit tunnels. They hit tunnels that collapsed underneath people's houses, and so it destroyed a lot of houses inadvertently and killed people in their homes. It's been brutal. Leanna said, I'm well, Scotland. How are you? Annie says, hold on, I need to go. Bye. Good to see you, Annie. We hope to see you again. Soul says 200 people died in Gaza and Israeli bombings. While in Israel, from the 2,000 missiles of Hamas, it killed 10 civilians and 4 soldiers. Exactly, and it's a big difference on which populations are getting hit. Israel has the ability to defend themselves and defend themselves well. Palestine does not have the ability to defend themselves and defend themselves well. They are getting hit from every angle, and it's brutal. It's brutal that so much money and so much power is getting put into hitting a civilian population, and it pisses me off. And what's even worse is that Joe Biden's ass comes up on the thing and is like, we support Israel's ability to defend itself by bombing back, which is crazy. And then on top of that, they're asked, okay, so are you going to speak on the human rights violation? Are you going to speak on the issues of Israel causing problems with Palestine? And then they go, oh, well, we're having secret, not secret, what did they say? Basically like secret political endeavors going on. They're like, we're not going to make those public. We're not going to make our condemnations of what Israel is doing public because we have such an alliance with Israel. But what we will do is we will secretly talk to them behind everybody's back and say, oh, please don't bomb civilians. It's what? It's insane. I want to go and pull up that article real quick. But they're absolutely, this is from CNN talking about just the absolutely devastating effects of this. It is brutal and it's sad to see. The picture that we have in our thumbnail is just one of many, many shots that look like fireworks when you see these huge amounts of bombs just being hurled back and forth, and thinking that each one of those dots you see in the sky is potentially tens, if not hundreds, of lives being lost. It's horrible and sad to understand the effects of that. You can see here there is a map actually of what's going on and how this is working. A lot of this you can tell is based around both the West Bank here, around Hebron, Ramallah, Jericho, as well as you can see in Gaza and the bombings there, which happened in Gaza City. It's just back and forth, these bombings and bombings and bombings and bombings and bombings. The West Bank, I believe, is having more and more of that Israeli push, these people trying to, move Palestinians who are within Israel's border out of their homes, taking them and, claiming that there is some legal precedent behind that. It's mind-boggling. Soul says, the situation isn't about religion. Most of the Palestinians are mostly secular Muslims or Christians, while Israelis need to convert to Ashkenazi Judaism in order to live in it. And that's ridiculous as well. It definitely does seem like they're bombing a civilian population, which has very wide range and definition to it, but that Israel is becoming more and more based around this specific view of what an Israeli is, being this specific Ashkenazi Jewish person, and specifically someone who identifies with the political beliefs of the Israeli state as well. So it's getting crazy. Jaya said, it looks like the glorification of war is kind of dying out. It's legitimately a tragedy. We get on these topics and we talk about them, and it brings up a lot of news and it brings up a lot of important topics, but it's horrible. War, as we've talked about on this channel, is always a bad thing. It always leads to death. It always leads to problems. There are better ways in modern states to have modern solutions, and yet they're not doing it. It is a problem, and there needs to be better ways to address these things. And we can't have the largest nation in the world, the United States, one of the most powerful political entities in the world, saying, we'll just kind of tell them to hush it down. Just don't worry, we're dealing with it, sort of thing. Just believe us that everything will be fine. Frog says, hello Frog, how are you? Leanna says, greetings Frogs. Eskimo says, controller charged, headset on, missiles pointed at the not real state of Israel. It's gamer time. Oh goodness, I didn't know where that was going. That went crazy. Shiravi said hello again. Hello Shiravi, it's good to see you. Leanna says, greeting Eskimo, greeting Shiravi. Shiravi says, I think it's unfair to equate Hamas to Palestine. I completely agree. Hamas and Palestine are not the same thing. Hamas is, a separated entity from what Palestine is. Palestine itself is a group of people. It's a civilian population that Israel is targeting and bombing and then claiming that it's Hamas. It's an issue. Eskimo says, hello, Leanna. Jaya says, if it's not called war, it's called terrorism. And for a state that would be worse seen by people. Agreed. I think it's really weird that, so they call Hamas's actions terrorism, and I would agree with that. I think attacking people in that guerrilla-like manner, hitting civilian populations, is terrorism. But what is Israel doing? It's state-sponsored terrorism. It is U.S.-backed state-sponsored terrorism, and it's rough, and it's happening right now in front of our eyes. There are people with iPhones and stuff. There are people in the modern day filming rockets falling on top of their heads, filming their families and the buildings that they've grown up in, and the generations of their family have built their lives around, destroyed, demolished. Imagine your hometown, the place you grew up, getting just leveled in front of you. It is a horribly graphic thing that no one in the modern day should have to experience, and yet we're doing it just based off of this ideological difference. We're hitting people who are trying to go to college. We're hitting people who are trying to have families. We're hitting people who are trying to not die from COVID. Oh my God. Nathan said, greetings AP, made a post on Instagram. Thank you so much. Edwin, thank you so much, Nathan. I saw Edwin's name. Thank you so much, Nathan. Nathan is doing a great job helping us out. And as you can see, we have 13 viewers right now. This is a serious topic that is helping us out a lot with talking about the thing. I think as a community, the micronational community needs to step up and needs to make this known and needs to talk about how this isn't okay. The bombings that Israel is doing is not okay. No matter what side you are on, Israel's fucking up. You can support Israel being a state. I support Israel's existence, but I do not support them destroying the people who also live there and need to go exist with them. Edwin says, I agree with Jaya. Nathan says, greetings, made a post. Soul says, Palestine doesn't have an army, doesn't have a government company, or anything like that. Agreed. It's just a civilian population. Eskimo says, Palestine isn't real. Soul says, West Bank is controlled by martial law by Israel, while Gaza is a big no to Israel. Soul says, Palestine will be free from river to the sea. Yeah, I hope so. I hope a Palestinian state can exist, but I hope it can coexist with Israel. Leanna says, I'm in favor of a country defending itself from armed invasion, but I don't approve of armed aggression against other countries. Agreed. Well, and that's the thing that is so difficult. Like Soul was saying, and like Eskimo was saying, Palestine, it's not like an official country. They can't declare war on something. That does make more sense. You can't declare war on something that isn't a country. It's a group of people existing and getting the life bombed out of them. Gosh, and Israel just holds all the cards already. They have all the stuff. They could be able to. They're actively, throwing Palestinian people who are a part of their control out on the street. And there's no reason for it. They don't have to do that. They're just doing it because because they want to see their perfect ideal of what Israel is. And it's really sad. It's really messed up. Fuckland said, free Israel. Palestine doesn't need to exist when other countries exist. They sure do. They sure do need to exist, because they did exist and have existed there for a long time. Just because you don't want them to doesn't mean that they don't have every right in the world to exist and shouldn't have to be fearing being bombed every day. Both can exist. Both need to exist. There needs to be some intermingling of these communities in a safe and controlled manner. Soul says, Israel isn't defending itself, it's just cowardly attacking civilians in order to genocide them. That's a fair point. Eskimo says, I honestly think the Palestinians are descendants of the Philistines and Philistines are descendants of Canaanites. This war has been going on forever. I agree, Eskimo. It is a long, enduring battle in this area. Different peoples with different names, with slightly different backstories, all coming together and fighting over the same strip of land based on their descendants and how their descendants were dealing with the situation at the time. Who held the cards? Right now, Israel holds the cards, and they're not moving toward peace in any way, besides trying to get 100% their way. Aeternal says, my grandma is from Palestine. Greetings, Aeternal. How do you feel about that? Eskimo says, all over who owns the, quote, promised land. Agreed. Jaya says, before the 21st century, people said it like it is. Now those in power can change the name of what they're doing and become unaffected. And people call that politics. I agree, Jaya. It's a large issue, and I appreciate the micronational community taking on this hard topic. This stuff sucks. It sucks to talk about. It's sad to talk about death and bombings and, religion. It's all a really sensitive topic that you need to tiptoe through, but it just gets to a certain point where there's human rights violations, where blanket across the board somebody's doing something wrong. And at that point, regardless of your politics, regardless of your belief on how things should ultimately end up, you can't condone just murder. Shravi says, wait, that's not true. Ashkenazi is a Jew from Central Europe and is not a religion. It's just the area you're from. You don't need to be religious to be Israeli. In fact, most Israelis are secular. So then why is it that, they're moving... I guess that's one of the things that confuses me. So then why is it that they're moving Muslim people, and specifically Palestinian people, culturally Palestinian people, out of their homes in Israel, in Israeli contested areas, in Israeli controlled areas? People who are each other's neighbors. You can see the footage online of Israeli groups and legal defense funds and stuff like that, just showing up to people's houses and telling them, okay, you gotta leave. I know this is your home. I know your kids grew up here. Leave. It's time to go. Pack up your stuff. This is mine now. That's horrible. Tess says Palestine under Hamas government is literally killing Israelis. But there isn't an official government, though, is the thing. Hamas is not a government. It's not a thing. It's just a group of people. It's just a radical group of people, but there are plenty of Palestinians who are just trying to survive and live their lives, both on the Israeli side and on the Palestinian side, who are just getting hurt. Culturally Palestinian people who are just getting hurt in the middle of all this. Eskimo says, Tess says Israel is the only democracy and Jewish state in the Middle East. Understandable, but still, Israel should be allowed to exist. So should Palestine. So should the people who have been living there and not be allowed to be bombed all day. Nathan says, before the state of Israel, it was Palestine's land. Then after World War II ended, Zionists went to the land and stole it from Palestine. Agreed. There should just be the ability for both groups to exist. Eskimo says, I don't like how Israel treats a lot of things, but I do not support Palestine at all. I understand, and that's perfectly fair. Just don't condone the bombings of civilian populations. That's what the most important thing today is. However you move forward with your politics and your belief on why a certain group should or should not exist in a particular geographic location, don't support the bombing of civilian populations. Don't support the upheaval of people from their homes. There are better ways to do this. Drew says Jerusalem was under siege for 1 minute before Israel moved into Gaza and is getting them. It's a big issue. The Emperor said, I think your live streams have become too political, Emperor AP. Sometimes they have to be. When there's something that's an atrocity happening in the world, if you are a political figure, if you have a micronation, and you are not talking about that that's wrong, if you're not going to point out something that you feel like is a moral issue, there's a problem. I don't love talking about this stuff. Talking about micronationalism is my bread and butter. I can go online and I can look at stuff all day about how micronations are developing. I have been writing videos and designing things to discuss how we are going to move forward as a nation. But this is just blaring in my face. It is something that is too horrendous to ignore. There are deaths happening around the world right now due to just the pandemic that we're slowly starting to get under control, and yet there's now these bombings and there's these things that are getting into higher and higher escalation. I understand that it's a very, very political conflict. I understand that it's very, very controversial. I'm not telling you what side you need to pick. I'm not telling you which side in the grand scheme of things is right or wrong. I'm saying that bombing civilian populations is wrong, and that shouldn't be happening. People shouldn't be in fear of their lives every day just because of where their family has raised them. Shravi says, actually, in recent studies shows Philistines are more closely related to people from Greece. Lana says, terrorist groups living inside a country or building should be targeted, not the country or building they're in. I completely agree, Leanna. Individual task forces should be able to go into places and remove people who are, the heads of terrorist organizations and stuff like that. There should be joint efforts between the people who are in Israel and the people who are in the West Bank to take out people who are in Gaza, people who are, considered the heads of terrorist organizations. But you don't have to bomb your own people. You don't have to bomb the groups that are relying and depending on Jerusalem as one of the main stable players in this fight. And they're just hitting them. They're just hitting them with bombs. It's an issue. Soul says, Lebanon has a parliament with 64 Muslims and 64 Christians obligatory, and Iraq has democratic elections. Syria is secular. Turkey is secular. Libya, Iraq, Egypt. Soul says, saying Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East is literally not studying geopolitics. That's accurate. I appreciate that. CJ says, Hamas, Iran, the Palestinian Authority are the ones who should outright refuse any peace, not Israel. Israel over and over has shown and made attempts at peace and have made compromises, but the PA refused. It's a big issue. It really is. There were consistent attacks and atrocities on civilian populations. I don't know how, if you are a government official in these positions where your people have been bombed and, there are families who are grieving, who are asking you to represent them, I don't understand how you could come to the peace table easily. But at the same time, I think there has to be something that is done about that. I know that's not a new take, I know that's not fresh, but it's a bloodbath. And it's something that is happening with extreme escalation on both sides. What I don't understand is why there haven't been groups who are just trying to help the people who are on the ground. I don't understand why there aren't people. There are some people, there are some groups in Israel who are trying to help, but the Israeli state is stopping them. It's making it harder. It's making it more difficult for there to be any just modicum of assistance to people who have no dog in the fight. Leanna said, anything other than that, and it costs innocent lives and prolonged conflict. I agree. Soul says, Eskimo, why don't you support Palestine? Eskimo says, I'm a Christian. Christians, I still think, can support Palestine. It's human lives. I think Jesus would support people who are just getting bombed in their homes. I think it's wrong. I do. Leanna says, I can't stay on much longer. I understand, but I appreciate your support. As well, we have 16 viewers right now. The closest we've ever gotten to 20, I think, is like 18 or 19. If we got 20 viewers, that would actually change the game for us. That would blow shit up. I hope you are able to come back soon, Leanna. I am excited to talk to you more about things. Soul says, CJ, first off, who refused the peace was Israel. Israel wanted to shove up their people off the land and can't even live there. Would you accept that? Eskimo says, I do believe it's Israel's right to have land, but I don't whole bunch of stuff that I just passed up accidentally. Okay, I don't like Israel begging for American help in the Israeli government. Soul says, Eskimo, don't tell me you believe in the Protestant blasphemy that Israelis support Christians. Bro, I'm a Christian too. Tess says, of course, but the government of Palestine is rudimentarily malevolent. Eskimo says, Catholic. Ricky Robin says, right group of violent people like Antifa and Black Lives Matter in the world is built on good intentionally. Sadly, violence ends up in its place. Yeah, it's really, really sad. I think Black Lives Matter is an important thing, and I don't think you should consider that whole group violent. That's not accurate at all, and I would not say that. Similar with Antifa. That's not the conversation right now. What is important is trying to understand and to at least come to terms with that there are civilian populations being bombed right now. I feel like trying to tie in like U.S., like politics and beliefs and how that somehow connects and how, you know, all of these people have a similar, it's unfounded. I wouldn't go about trying to do that. Travi says it's not a religious war, so I would say keep that out of the conversation. It's just not a part of it. But you are right. Violence breeds violence. So anybody who is on either side should stop trying to escalate with the other side. Travi says it's not a religious war, it has more to do with nationalism. And I agree with that. I think Israeli nationalism has a big part to do with that. And I think that it has in part been an issue with the United States and has been an issue with the fact that the United States gives funding to Israel because Israel promotes themselves as the Jewish state and promotes themselves as the one place for this ideal Christian Jewish, you know, design, and discluding Palestinian people, discluding Muslim people. And it's a really tragic thing that continued funding breeds further nationalism, which breeds further funding, which breeds further nationalism, and that's the design of it. It's just moving into extremism for party politics' sake. Soul says Eskimo Israelis can literally live in any country they want, just not create an apartheid state. Agreed. They can even have the Israeli state, just don't create apartheid for your people. Just treat Palestinian Israelis and Jewish Israelis and Christian Israelis the same. Allow people who have lived in their houses for decades to stay in their houses. Allow for people who do want a Palestinian state to be able to create that in a peaceful way. That's literally what micronationalism is all about. You're talking about, oh, well, we shouldn't get into all this party politics. We shouldn't get into talking about this situation. This situation has a lot to do with the precedent for micronationalism and for the concepts that micronationalism strives for. The Palestinian people are just saying, we want to create a country. We want to do the thing that Israel did when they showed up in a place where we already had a country and just took it over and then just claimed it as theirs. We should be able to support people who want their own sovereignty, their own independence for whatever the reason. We should not support the destruction of other nations that already exist. Israel did that to Palestine. I don't think Palestine should be trying to go back and do that to Israel, but Palestine deserves to exist just beside Israel, just alongside the place where they are both trying to live equally. It's horrible that it's trying to shove each other's head under the water in order to get yours above it. That should not be the case. And I think as micronationalists, it's important. Don't jump into every single political conversation just for the fun of it, but this one is something that has international precedent to what micronationalism is fundamentally. And I think the UN, I think nations around the world have to be able to make room for Palestine to come out and exist as an independent nation and as a grassroots movement that is started by the people who live in those areas and who know what they want and what they need for their communities. It's a small area. It's not like you're asking to make something the size of Russia. You're asking to make something on a small strip of very important and very highly populated land. It is about micronationalism. Tess says, think about it this way. If there's a kid who is surrounded by many other kids who hate him or her, should that kid have a place, or the other kids who not all kids hate? Soul says, first off, Palestinians and Arabs were the real people living in the region. Israeli Jews can live in Palestinian Jews if they want. It doesn't stop them, but most Israelis want to. Annie said they're back. Hey, I'm glad to see you, Annie. Multiple things. Leanna said that she's leaving. Bye, Leanna. It was good to see you. Annie said back. Tess said Erdogan is a dictator. Saudi Arabia is an absolute monarchy. Soul says watch Abby Martin expose Zionism. We will check it out. Ricky says they have been fighting over Jerusalem for a long time, and the Islamic extremists claim jihad on those that are for equal civil religious practices. It is. It's a huge back and forth. But it's not just one side. Like, I feel like you're just saying, it's these Islamic extremists. Sure, but the Islamic extremists may be bred from having individual civilians who are having their homes bombed. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's a very similar rhetoric to saying that, like, you know, oh, we need to defeat, like, the Viet Cong and stuff like that back in the Vietnam War. And it's like, oh, okay, well, you need to defeat the Viet Cong. Maybe if you didn't, like, torch Vietnamese civilian villages and things, the Viet Cong wouldn't have as easy a time recruiting the people from those villages you burned. It's a big issue. Leanna said, peace to the Middle East and Aeternia forever. Peace to the Middle East and Aeternia forever. Soul says, Jews want to do the same thing to Ricky. Jews want to do the same thing to Jerusalem, and Christians in Palestine aren't with Hamas. Just because someone is Palestinian doesn't mean it's Muslim. I agree. Raul says, find the creator and tell him everything that's going on. We got to. Somebody call him up. Eskimo says, you can't just say anyone who disagrees with you is a bigot or ignorant. That's what fascists do. Okay, getting back and forth. The American says, why should we care about Israel? Remember the Monroe Doctrine. Ricky says, though Israel claims freedom from civil rights and religion, it's just lip service as they suppress Christians and Muslims. Agreed. It's a big issue, and I don't think that what Israel has become is actually what anyone in the region really wanted or needed. Besides the people who are extremely pro-Israel, and that's, you know, how they've created their entire identity. I think most people are not that. Soul says, Eskimo, you just laughed after I recommend you someone who has proof. Okay. Kingdom of Annie said Black Lives Matter is important. Black Lives Matter is very important. Soul says, hello, Kingdom of Annie says, this is probably, I meant to say this is probably the most disliked Aeternia live stream ever. Prove me wrong. Ooh, maybe so. Legitimately, maybe so. Shia says, what we should think about is the leaders of each side's intention. Agreed. Christ is great says, remember what Jesus said. Ooh. Eskimo says, why does this have so many dislikes? I'm also trying to figure it out. Soul says, because Aeternia is against, Rawl says that, and it says, because Aeternia is against Israel. We're not against Israel. We're not against Israel. I'm condemning the actions of Israel bombing civilian populations. That's different from being against the entire country. There are people who are civilians in that country who want to stop the bombings. It's the government there, and it's the extremist viewpoint that has taken over based on the whole geopolitical situation. I'm not against Israel. Aeternia is not against Israel. We are pro-peace, and we are anti-bombing civilian populations. War is terrible, and I feel like Israel right now is the main provocateur in that war. They're doing the most damage to civilian populations. Rawl says, Earth. Ricky says, I am just saying each side is trying to work their good intentions into the world, and then clashing happens instead of freedom on both sides and give and take and give and take. I agree. I think having diplomacy and having ways to work out your differences is a better solution, but of course is something that has many of its own entanglements and difficulties that happen while these bombings and while these escalations continue to ongo. So there are talks always between both sides, but there's always this international discussion of, well, should there be, you know, it's a lot of mess. And I think people are trying to talk it out and figure things out, but there's no real clear-cut one side versus the other. It's Israel, and then it's everyone else, it seems like. Eskimo says, I don't think AP has picked a side. I have not picked a side. That's what I'm saying. I don't support war, period. I don't like that this is happening at all on either side. What I am saying is stop bombing civilian populations. Shia says, because AP is stepping in, because Aeternia is stepping into controversial territory, but that's important. that shouldn't matter. You shouldn't dislike a video just because it has a belief in it that you don't agree with. This is important geopolitical issues that are happening right now in our lives, and I think history will look back and show that what Israel is doing right now in this moment is wrong. And that's all I'm saying, is that right now, the thing that they are doing is wrong. Last video I talked about, and I made very clear, I'm not picking a side, I'm not showing support for either side, and that is still my stance. But I have to make clear when I see something that is a moral failing. Soul says, do you guys notice that I'm a Christian too? I'm a Christian Orthodox and I'm against Israeli actions. Yes, exactly. There are people from all religions, all creeds, all nations who can be against civilian bombings. Eskimo says, do you pray to Mary like the Catholics? Christ is Great says, yeah. Are you an idolater? Yes, we pray to Mary. Eskimo says LMAO. Okay, so now y'all are just getting into like religious stuff. That is getting crazy. Annie says, can you roast East Greenland? Their YouTube channel is called Epic Filmmaking. You need to roast them if you make a Roast Your Micronation Part 2. I will check it out. Soul says, bruh. Okay, this is, I don't like the whole spamming by Christ is Great. This is getting too much. Jaya says, people shouldn't have a problem with someone. They should only have a problem with what someone's doing or saying. Who even dislikes a guy giving a neutral opinion? This is a great question. And I think it's just because people see it, they listen to one thing, and then they go, that's not what I believe, dislike. And that's fine. Soul says, back to Israel and Palestine, as I said. Thank you. I think this is a huge controversial topic. I understand why some people don't like talking about it. I understand that people don't want this channel to become political, as they call it. But politics is just the nature of interacting with the world around you and interacting in the society that you come from. I see something that's wrong. You say something when you see something that's wrong, and this situation is wrong. I don't think that there's one clear answer here. I don't think there's one clear right versus wrong, side in the situation. All I'm saying is that Israel has more ability to do something in terms of peace. Israel has much better defenses for themselves. Israel, when they send attacks to the West Bank and to Gaza, it's not, well, specifically to Gaza, it's not defendable. They just get hit. And then there are civilian casualties, and Israel goes, uh-oh, well, we were trying to get Hamas, but we got some people. It's horrible. Christ is Great, headed out, see you. Jaya says, people shouldn't have a problem with someone, they should only have a problem with what someone's saying or doing. Nathan says, that's how the mafia works. What's how the mafia works, Nathan? I'm curious. Eskimo says, that indeed is how the mafia works. Ooh, I'm trying to figure it out. What is with the mafia? I feel like I missed a thing, and now people are like, it's the mafia. And I'm like, what? Where did this come from? Eskimo says, I guess the heat makes everyone mad, but why is the Middle East always blowing up? Goodness. It's the politics of the region. It's the issue that there are large world governments from everywhere that have their own personal interest in seeing one side get over the other side. I think world economies don't want that war to stop, because the US sells weapons. That's a big thing that people generally don't like to talk about. The US sells weapons. They sell weapons to Israel, a lot of weapons to Israel that Israel regularly uses. So the things that are bombing Hamas right now, the things that are bombing Jewish people, Christian people, Muslim people, atheists, everybody in Gaza right now are probably U.S. weapons, U.S. purchased weapons, U.S. based Israeli defense weapons, and it's sad. It's really sad, because then that puts the U.S. in the situation where they go, I don't know, I don't exactly want to condemn Israel, because then they may not buy as much of our weapons. But you have to eventually get into a situation where you can just say, objectively, this is wrong. This isn't okay. It's a murder. Tiffany's coming back. Soul says, just to say some things, the peace, even if it means one state or two-state solution, it must be achieved. Palestinian side has Muslims that want to propagate jihad as Hamas, but not every Palestinian. I think if there's a one-state solution, it has to be something that is neither Israel nor Palestine. It has to be something that would be in between. But I think a two-state solution is probably going to be the best thing because there are people on both sides who want an Israel and a Palestine, and so there should just be both. And there should be plenty of places that both are allowed. There should be plenty of neutral territory around the places where there are holy sites. Jaya says, if I'm a Catholic and I become a criminal, would you be on my side just because I said I was Catholic? That brings up a great point, and I'd like to reiterate it again. Just because something is a part of your political ideology or your religious belief or whatever, does not mean that if you see something wrong in the world that you know is wrong, that you know is a moral failing, that you shouldn't point that out, and that you shouldn't say, hey, I get that, this is my thing or whatever, but in order to make my thing better, I have to show the people who are causing problems. And right now, that's this bombing happening. Extra Bro says Israel is peaceful, Hamas is destroying them. Extra Bro, I feel like I understand where you're coming from. I'm just saying, Israel right now is damaging and killing a higher number of civilians than Hamas is. But just because of the size and scale of the attacks, which is the problem. The kingdom of, I think Israel is trying to target Hamas targets, but are hitting just lots of civilian population. Good Kid said, ever heard about Zoroastrianism? Yes, I have heard about Zoroastrianism, and I understand Zoroastrianism was the precursor to all Abrahamic religions. Soul says, Kingdom of Annie said that would work out. Soul says, once that some Palestinians are secular, a lot of Israeli civilians are also secular Muslims or Christians. Eskimo says that's how the mafia works as a meme, AP. Oh, see, y'all already got me. Y'all already got me in these memes. Y'all gotta keep me updated. Y'all hit up the Discord with the memes, on the meme channel specifically, because people sometimes blow up the general with them. Hit it up in the meme channel. I need to learn. Y'all need to teach an old-ass man about memes. Soul says, Scotland says, I'm a Christian. Eskimo says, I am too, Scotland. Good Kid says, ever heard about Zoroastrianism? Good Kid says, I am a Zoroastrian. Interesting. Tell me what modern Zoroastrianism is like. Eskimo says, sorry for you. Scotland says, I am, Good Kid says, there are only a few of us left. So then, were you culturally Zoroastrian, or did you become a Zoroastrian through learning about it? Did you personally decide to convert to Zoroastrianism? Good Kid says there are plenty of other religions, especially in China: Confucianism, legalism, Taoism. Good Kid says, may Ahura Mazda bless you. Thank you very much. Zoom. That's offensive. My apologies. May Ahura Mazda bless you as well, Good Kid. Sol de Ora says, Good Kid, you're considered a pagan to us. That's interesting. And it's so weird about the way that history works for religions and stuff. Even though it's considered... Okay, hold on. We got Steven in the chat, and I'm hyped to talk about Steven. Annie says, why does something that's no longer sometimes talked about getting worse all the time? Because it's an ongoing conflict, and it needs to be talked about. Eskimo says, okay, King Andrew. Steven jumped in. Steven, the master of the House of Treasures, saying, very glad we're using our platform to bring awareness to this global issue. And I appreciate that, Steven. Thank you so much for your support. It sucks to feel like alone standing on the pedestal shouting about, Palestine. But I know there are a lot of people who are trying to say that this is wrong and who are trying to talk about the issues that are happening. I want Israel to exist. I want Palestine to exist. I want people to be able to live the lives that they want, and I want micronationalists to be able to create the states and the lives and the societies that they want. But the only way that that can happen is if we look at this from a larger point of view and say there has to be a certain individual freedom that is associated with your connection to society. You need to be able to say, this is wrong and I don't like this, I want to create something new. And I think that's what Palestinians are trying to do. I think that's what certain Israelis are trying to do, is to fix the things that they see wrong in their country. But it's such a huge and ongoing conflict that you can't not talk about it, because then like was just described, we don't talk about it for a long time, and then all of a sudden there's 30 bombings and 500 people are killed, and then we look around and say, well, I wonder where that came from. It came from that we didn't fix it the last time. We never moved forward with a legitimate plan to assist. And then the US goes, oh, y'all need more bombs? Do y'all need more bombs? You know, we don't want anything to happen, but just in case it happens, y'all probably need more bombs. Eskimo says, yes, Zoroastrianism is a pagan, I think, but like Middle Eastern paganism. Good Kid said, well, I believe in it, and I believe it to be true. Raul Calderon said, beer to will. Eskimo says, I got banned from the Discord and I don't know why. Was it like spamming or racial stuff? We don't allow people to post like Nazi imagery. We don't allow people to like spam. Those are the main things. If you post like a whole bunch of YouTube links, our bot will flag you. If you post like racist stuff, if you post the N-word, you know, we'll hit it up. So look, there should be, anytime we ban somebody, there's like a reason. But if you hit us up, like email us and talk to us about the thing, and then we'll unban you. Ashiv's Land, says Kingdom of Annie. I'm not sure what that means. Nathan retracted his message. Good Kid said, well, my parents are Zoroastrians. I went through a phase where I lost faith, but now I regained it. That's fantastic. Tell me about your parents, I suppose. Tell me about how they got into Zoroastrianism as well. Were their parents Zoroastrians? How has modern Zoroastrianism changed versus the original setup? Elijah says, Hamas stays in high population areas, so if Israel attacks them, there's more casualties. Exactly. But Israel still just does it. That's the crazy thing. You know what I mean? That'd be like if you were trying to pick a fight with someone and they like ran into a group of third graders, and it's like, fuck you, I bet you won't hit all these third graders, and then you start punting third graders in order to get to them, and you're like, yeah, I will. That's kind of what Israel's doing. I don't like it. It's not okay. You're right. You can say it's wrong and cowardly for a terrorist organization to hide in the civilian population, but it's also wrong to then just bomb the entire civilian population to try and get rid of the terrorist organization. Soul says, most people are opening its eye that Israel is losing propaganda space to pro-Palestine propaganda, and I agree with that. It is propaganda on both sides. That's why I'm saying I'm not taking a side in that, because there are bad things that happen on both sides. There's, I'm sure in the future, going to be some stuff that comes out where Palestine or Palestinian supporters or a created state in the future may be doing some wrong as well. You know, there are specific backing from other actors in the area who cause problems as well. It's just a larger issue, and it spills over into other countries as well, and there are other supporters in other countries who do different things that take tolls on civilian populations. So it's not just Israel, but right now, in this specific instance, in the bombings that just happened, Israel is wrong, and I want to talk about that. They are also just hugely supported by the US and many other nations around the world. Most Western nations support Israel. And so it's important to talk about, hey, we have this thing that's being propped up so heavily and they're doing bad stuff. It's just important to talk about. Also, Tiff's here, and she's cool. I like Tiff. She's cute, and her hair is teased up, and she makes me happy in life. Soul says, most people are open. Elijah says, also sorry for the bad spelling. All good, Elijah. We appreciate your commentary. And I appreciate you having, like, a common sense approach to the thing. You're saying, like, your defenses of Israel or your condemnations of Hamas, rather. And you're doing it in a respectful way. You're not just saying, I'm this and I believe this, so screw everybody else, they're wrong. You are having an adult conversation about it, and I appreciate that. Good Kid says, we have rituals with water and fire to strengthen Ahura Mazda to overpower angry Menu. I know it might sound silly, but I believe in it. No, that's important. It's a very old religion and a very old tradition in the world, and I'm curious to learn more about it. As well, if it's silly, then you have to say that all of its descendant ideas are silly, and that's all of Abrahamic religions. So I don't think it's silly. I think it is the foundation for a lot of culture all around the world. I am glad you are keeping your traditions alive, and I would like to learn more. If you, Good Kid, if you want to make content for us and describe more about Zoroastrianism, and tell us more about the culture of that, tell us more about modern Zoroastrianism, tell us about your practices and your ideas, please, please, please share your life with us and talk to us. I would love to make content about that. It is important. If we can make content that is about a population and a group that is dying out and going into extinction, we can save some of that information from the source, from the people who care about it, to mark down in history and to show other people and hopefully to grow before it does hit an extinction point. It's important, and I think we should document it. Good Kid, please contact us at eternianempire@gmail.com if you would like to reach out, or just type in the Empire of Aeternia in Google and you should find our website where you can reach out to us as well. Just let us know who you are, what you want to talk about, and we want to get you a platform to do that. Soul says, they are bombing with false proofs that Hamas is hiding in hospitals or schools. They bomb and then find absolutely nothing. And they bomb, and then it's still like there are a whole bunch of civilians dead, and then they go, oh, that sucks. And that's my problem with it. They're not doing anything to then help that civilian population after they destroy it, after they, orphan people and widow people. When they shut down large-scale infrastructure to civilian populations, they're not actually trying to go back and fix that for those people. Kingdom of Annie said, Achsivland, I believe is how you pronounce it, is a micronation in Israel. And how do they feel about it? What are their sides? What's that?
But isn't it important because after the war you're all supposed to, the union and stuff, the United Kingdoms gets together and it's like, alright, you owe this country this much money for the damage of the war.
The United Nations, yeah. But that's part of the big issue, right? Is that Israel says they're attacking Palestine, but Palestine isn't a country. Like there's no official Palestine. It's just civilian populations in the area. So there's civilian populations over there that we semi-control, but also there's terrorists that are attacking us and shooting bombs at us. So what we'll do is we'll just hit the whole civilian population and take down a building. So it's they can't call it a war because they're not fighting another country. They're just fighting people in the area. So who do Israel would have to go in and personally take account of what damage they've done and then try to help that group, but they're not going to because they see that as their enemy, even though it's a civilian population. Sorry guys, my webcam just went out. I am actively going to fix it. If you guys can give me just one moment to adjust, and we will be back. We have 14 viewers right now, and that helps a whole bunch for our watch time. We're getting closer and closer on our watch time, so I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Hey, and we're back. There we go. No, I haven't.
I know, we went to
Okay. I'm trying to give Tiffany my sauce from the restaurant we went to. Soul says there should be a micronation in Palestine West Bank. I agree. Jaya said when I was in there may be. I want to learn about them. Jaya says when I was in elementary there was an Israeli kid in class for a short time. After he was gone I heard this sort of war was going on and I didn't get why because Jesus was born in Israel. 10-year-old me. Very interesting. And how do you feel about the conflict now? How do you feel like that's changed your opinion? Did you get to talk to him at all about it? Or her about it? After he was gone. About him about it? Good Kid says, well, my grandparents were Zoroastrian too. It goes to my great-great-great-great-grandparents, I think. They were in the area and they converted. So it has a pretty long history in my family. Please talk to me about it. I would love to learn more about it. Sincerely. Eskimo says, screw everyone else. Soul says, Jaya, it's kind of sad to hear that. Same to me when I heard about Palestinian Arab brothers. Eskimo says, screw everyone else. Scotland said, good morning, Tiffany. How are you today?
Good morning, I'm good. How are you?
Eskimo says, it's good kid, that's very cool. Good kid said, thank you for respecting my religion, AP. I'm eternally grateful. Always. I'm happy to support you. And I'm happy to see that you're keeping Zoroastrianism alive. It's an important cultural milestone for the world. Frog says orangutan. Hey, and I'm curious to hear the orangutan religion's take on all this. Does orangutanism condemn bombing? Does orangutanism condemn war in general? Nathan says, good kid, if you want to be on the Aeternian show, hit me up and we can call sometime this week. You can talk about your religion. Hey, that would be perfect. Good kid said, okay, thanks for the offer. Yes, and good kid, I want to point out that's Nathan. He is the press noble for the House of Others. He's a part of our government, and the Aeternian Show is an official government-sponsored program. So if you would like to talk to them, that would be a great way to get things started. And as well, you can always make your own content for us. Soul says some Hamas songs are fire though. Soul says, "Oh, son of Qasim is a bang." Not gonna lie. Oh goodness. Now we do got some of the propaganda coming in. Oh gosh. Mute says, "Damn, dislikes are going crazy." I'm really curious about that as well. Maybe we'll get popular off of dislikes. This will be interesting. This is our most disliked stream. I haven't seen what the dislikes are yet, but I'm really curious to. At the end of the stream, we'll jump in and see if we have 1 million dislikes yet. Everybody does 1 million dislikes, and we'll get. And we'll do something crazy.
It's still views.
That's true. It's still views, and we appreciate it.
Haters help people too.
Of course. Tiffany, thank you guys for helping us by disliking the video. If you do like the video, please do like it. It helps, and it'll send you more of our content. But if you don't like it, I understand. It's just that we need to talk about it. It's important. Don't dislike it because we're talking about it. Mute says, I haven't seen this much dislikes in an Aeternian live at all before. Agreed. I'm also surprised. And I feel really bad about it. The last time we had a thing, it was our government meeting, and barely anybody paid attention, barely anybody hung out. But then when we talk about things that are just important issues in the world, people are disliking. I don't know what's going on. Limper says yes. Emperor said yes. Annie says, like, dislike war. This will go down in Aeternian history. Yes, please. And please like it up. Nathan says, I know I made a post on the story to give it a like. Story on Instagram. I appreciate it. And I think it helps out. We have 15 viewers right now, by the way, guys. That is incredible. Thank you guys for helping us out with the watch time. Soul says, Gastanova, Steven, says, AP sent you a thing via the P.O. box. Should arrive tomorrow. It's not much, but I thought it was cool. Yes, please. I'm very hype about it. Oh, okay. Tiffany said, the P.O. box was empty as of today. Also, thank you, by the way. I didn't know you did that. That means a lot.
Yep. It's a good thing I know where they go, because I lost the phone. So I don't have a GPS.
Yeah.
I figured my way out too because I couldn't get back on that main road, so I took a right instead by the post office and ended up finding another way back over to that main highway to get me over to the place to get food.
We have been having technical difficulties in Aeternia because Tiffany lost her phone, but now we'll hopefully be getting her a new phone. If we can't find her old phone, this is a whole thing. But
it's not my fault it's lost, alright? I didn't have pockets.
That's true.
Well, I had pockets, but it fell out all the time.
That is true.
It didn't fall out, that's not why it got lost.
But for right now, Israel, Palestine, and this. Also, Steven, please hit me up. I've sent you some messages on Discord. I sent you a text. Hit me up. I'd love to talk. I'd love to figure out what's going on. Frog says, orangutanism does not condemn war and bombs. Does condemn war and bombs. Thank you, great orangutan in the sky. We appreciate you. The Emperor says it condemns the cutting down of trees. Makes sense. And should as well. Global warming is also just a huge issue. Nathan says, I know you never told me the P.O. box opened. I'll get some stamps and mail you some cool stuff. Oh, thank you so much, Nathan. I'm sorry. Yes, the P.O. box is open. We made a video about it. The P.O. box is open. I'll make another video about it.
And how the address and stuff is at the bottom of the website. website.
Yes, the address is at the bottom of the website. I will actually update that because Stephen was saying that he couldn't send stuff with the address that we had, so I'll have to add additional stuff to the address. But it's just the street address. I will update that. But if you check at the bottom of our website, you should see the P.O. Box name and city.
It's probably good in the building.
It's the street name. Yep. That's correct.
No, you need the street name. You don't have the building number.
Right. I also don't have the street name. I need to have like that whole part.
Yes, you do. The receipt had the street name.
No, I
and
understand.
address
On
on
the
it.
website, I didn't put that, so I need to put that. Yes. So, real quick, everybody jumping in. Baltazar Gabka says hi from Poland. Hello, it's great to see you as well. Thank you so much for tuning in.
That's for everyone.
Poland is far away. Also, if you have a micronation, Baltazar, please definitely hit us up on our website, fill out an application for our micronational map. If you type in the Empire of Aeternia on Google, you should find our website and you should be able to apply for our micronational map. I don't think we have any micronations in Poland, but we have over 100 micronations on our map right now, I believe. And I'm excited about having yours join it as well.
I got a weird question.
Okay.
I don't think it's related at all.
Oh no.
Oh no, it's definitely not related to the Israel-Palestine.
Oh no.
But
we're trying to talk about the thing.
But look, if wouldn't it be ironic if Poland was near one of like the ending poles, like right at it? Then it makes sense with all that.
It's a closer country to the North Pole than a lot of other countries. It's pretty northern. Poland's pretty northern. Also, we have 17 viewers. Hold up, this is blowing up. If we get 20 viewers, that'll actually just pass up the amount of active viewers we've ever had on the channel. Armin said, hey, what's going on? Hey, Armin, thank you so much for viewing. Also, thank you guys from Instagram, from Twitter for hopping on. It helps a lot. We never know how effective Instagram and Twitter are going to be when we post, but when it gets you guys in the live streams to talk about serious issues, it's important. One of the biggest things for us is making this an important issue for micronationalism. Because like we said, Palestine trying to become its own nation and become something that is actually developed alongside Israel is just a micronational endeavor. It just does set precedent for people being able to create nations on a world scale. So the micronational community should be paying close attention to this and should point out atrocities in any case when they see them, regardless of your political standpoint. If you are an activist, if you are somebody who is trying to make change in the world, be honest with yourself and be open about what you believe and talk to people when you see that something is wrong. That's how we make the world a better place, by talking. Soul says, hi from Brazil, Iraq. Hello, Soul. Armin said, hey, what's going on? We're talking about Israel and Palestine. It's an insane thing. Also, 18 viewers right now. If you guys like the stream, by the way, it helps a ton. I know we've had a lot of dislikes this stream, so if we get some likes, it'll help balance it out. I would appreciate it. Red says, it is I, Wolf Boy, one of the most hated micronationalists. Wolf Boy, why are you one of the most hated micronationalists? Also, how do you feel about the Israel-Palestine conflict? Sanctimonious says, you nuked our server, didn't you? Red Dark Wolf said, haha, yep. You shouldn't do that, Wolf. It actually just like, people are trying to make communities and do stuff, and it's harmful. Don't do that. Nathan said, ooh, they're like doing a you'll pay. Red's acting like a supervillain. This is interesting. Sanctimonious says you'll pay. Nathan says the post I made has been getting likes. Sorry for the comments saying we declared war on them, even though I meant it as we need subs. Yeah, I appreciate that. I would say don't make it like against Malassia or whatever, because we're not against Malassia. We are just trying to bridge the gap, though, for sure. I appreciate it, and I think it's fine to say that. Like, it's fine to say we're trying to, like, get better and do more. We do post a lot more than Malassia. I just think Malassia, like, has hype on it from being one of the great early micronations. But we're trying to make ourselves known about that, and we're trying to make ourselves worthy of competing. So please, guys, if you feel like we're even near that, help support us and help get us up there. Red says you declared war. Who declared war? Nathan said need. Soul says micronationalism nationalist. Oh goodness. Red says I didn't do nothing to you. I appreciate it. I hope you don't do anything to Aeternia. We are legitimately just trying to like create an insulated community. We're not trying to like cause any problems for anybody. Frog says, oh, I have heard of you. Didn't you make a conspiracy against Aeternia? Also, have you heard of orangutanism? Sanctimonious said we declared war on Red because of some stuff. Sorry guys, talking about Israel-Palestine, wanting to get back on that. Soul says to, a Korean name said, greetings from the Korean Caliphate. Greetings. As well, it's good to see you. I would recommend, we have some nations already in Korea on our micronational map in South Korea. If you would like to become a part of our micronational map, fill it out on our website. Type in the Empire of Aeternia in Google, join our micronational map, see what other micronations are in your area. You can create a micronational community in Korea and know where all of the other micronations are that can be around you. You can learn stats about them, you can elevate your own micronation. Join up, support us, support each other in Korea. Red says, I'm gonna give you a shout out in my server. Thank you so much, Red, I appreciate that. Nathan says, never meant to declare war on you, Sanctimonia. Yeah, we're not trying to declare war on anybody. Sanctimonia says, I want peace. If you want it, I would be glad. No more war. It isn't even war, it's purely online. Exactly. Kingdom of Vanny says, sweet. Soul says, back to Israel-Palestine situation. Most of Israeli settlers are attacking Palestine. And it's a whole issue. It really is a whole issue. Sanctimonia says, we will not be enemies with you anymore. We don't want war. There are a whole bunch of things jumping off about different micronations right now. But one of the biggest things that I want to talk about in the Israel-Palestine issue is that, like, there should just be a humanitarian part of it. There really should just be more groups that are saying, regardless of who you side with politically, there needs to be help. And I don't understand why that's not Israel's, like, main focus. If Israel really did want to be hard in propaganda and really did want all this nationalist stuff and really did want to achieve just Israel as the single state solution, then they should make it more appealing to Palestinians who are already under Israeli control. They should make it a point to help and grow those communities who would then have more loyalty to Israel because of the help and quality of life they've been able to provide there, in showing that they're not trying to create Israel just for Jewish people, that they're trying to create it as a state to solve the issues surrounding the area and to create legitimate progress for every culture and every community that populates that area, which is very, very large and intersectional. So you can't just take one side and say we're trying to make it just for these people and kick everyone else out. It's never going to work. If you want to truly achieve something more peaceful and something that's more long-lasting, you need to not just rely on the support of other nations funding you militarily. You need to actually have a way to support the diverse community that you've pulled into your population. So this is important for micronationalism. This is important for micronationalism because it talks about the intersection of different communities. It talks about starting a nation. It talks about what happens when people just target each other in the hopes of becoming the only thing to exist. It sets precedents for a lot of what we need to do in the world, and it also should teach us a lot about our own nations. And if people in the micronational community can't see that, I am so sorry for them, because it's important, and it's a useful topic for us to study and to learn about. Rahul said message retracted. Sanctimonia said peace, my friend, enough. Fantastic. Nathan said, we need nations in Australia and Africa and South America to have one in every habitable continent. Agreed. If you guys know Australian nations, please add them to our map. I wanted Hutt River to be a part of our map so bad, but Hutt River disbanded after their leader died as well. Peace be upon them, and and peace to their leader who has passed. But I really, really want to see our map have a nation in every single continent, and then eventually a micronation in every single country. There are a lot of micronations. Micronationalism is becoming a more and more popular thing every day, and so there will just be a time when we get that, and I encourage you all to support it early on. Soul says they are getting Palestinian Israeli situation to the chat. Armin says up. Soul says a Jew sent to me that Saudi Arabia sends support to Hamas. Where the link he gave me just showed that Saudi Arabia aided Palestinians with food and money. I asked him what that makes Hamas and Saudi Arabia connected. He says, I don't know, ties with PLO maybe. I think that's a big issue. So there really are some like strange deals that happen back and forth between the U.S. and Israel, between Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and their side of things. There are a lot of back and forth in this conflict. There's a lot of like subtle like nudging one way or the other, but then a lot of it is just direct. Israel is just directly attacking civilian populations, and that's not something that's okay. Regardless of who's prodding, who's supporting who, how it's working out, there is no need for that, and I don't think that's the solution anybody's honestly craving. I'd be curious to learn more about where your friend got their information and how they're making those connections. It doesn't feel fully logical. Nathan said, I heard about Hut River and it was sad. It was very sad. We need to have potentially a day of mourning for them one day. But certainly we should all reflect on them and know that we've learned from them. Annie says, can we end this? I've been here for about an hour. Annie, I appreciate it. You are more than welcome to jump off whenever you would like. We probably aren't going to stay on too much longer. Tiffany and I have an event to attend, but I'll probably stay for a couple more minutes while I finish eating. Sanctimonious, but I do appreciate you, Annie, I will say, for supporting us in this stream, for helping keep our numbers up, for helping to keep our watch time up. You have been as dedicated as some of our citizens. We had to have Leanna leave earlier. She's in every single stream. She's always dedicated. People have lives, people have stuff they have to do, but you are helping us to push the boundary. You're helping us to push the needle on micronationalism and make it to where another micronation has YouTube funding and has consistent funding. So thank you, Annie, for supporting us. I appreciate it, and I want you to know that it is well recognized. Sanctimonious said they disintegrated 1 year ago. For half a century they existed strong. And it's incredible. It really is. The Swedish Milk says, Favendria says hello. Swedish Milk, thank you so much for joining us. Sweden as well. We don't have a micronation in Sweden. You should join our micronational map. Type in the Empire of Aeternia in Google. You should find our website. On our website, you can apply for our micronational map. And you can be some of the first states in Europe to really expand your micronational presence. And you can find other micronations around you in doing so. Support us and show the strength of your nation. We have around 100 micronations on our micronational map, and you could be one of them. Red says 17 watching. Yes, and thank you, Red. I hope that's in part from your support and your promotion of it. I'm certain that was a large help for us. Armin says, who disintegrated? Hut River. Sanctimonious says, tell your leader we declare peace. Hut River. Red Dog Wolf says, hey Swedish, did you come from Favendria Discord? Annie says, Hut River. I said it first. Sanctimonious says, we will have peace. Scotland says, Kingdom of Australia and Canada next to New York right now, Your Imperial Majesty. Congratulations. I'm glad to see that you are going live and strong. Also, we have 16 viewers. Thank you guys for popping in. And again, please like the video. If you like the content, if you feel like this is an important conversation for micronationalists to have, regardless of your opinion, please definitely like the video. Help us to spread the word. Help us to continue this conversation. Because the worst thing in the world is for this to just die out and us to not talk about it anymore. It's an ongoing issue. It's not stopping until we fix it. And there's important precedent for micronationalists. So please, please, please support this idea, talk to people, try to spread the word about conversations about Israel-Palestine. It is an important cultural event and historical event for the world. Annie says thanks. Red Dark Wolf says sure. People in the micronational community love history and love to talk about history and the importance of, different military uniforms and how different, how the Roman army designed their flanks and how this nation would have never been able to be as powerful as they were if they hadn't been helped by this nation and if they hadn't gotten funding from here and here, and how this war would have been completely changed if only this battle had gone this way, and that would change the whole face of current politics. Well, this is history going on right now in front of your face. This is something that is happening that is taking a toll on geopolitics and is making the world actively shuffle its feet in the largest nations and the smallest ones. So please, please pay attention and keep talking about this. Annie says thanks. Of course, we appreciate you, Kingdom of Annie. Nathan says, I've watched almost every stream. I agree. I didn't even point that out. Nathan is incredibly dedicated. Nathan is a member of our government, and for good reason. Nathan, Gray, and Steven are all wonderful supporters of the Empire of Aeternia, and we wouldn't be nearly where we are without them. So I do want to commend Nathan for being a part of almost every single stream, and as well doing much behind the scenes. Nathan's on almost every stream. He's also made the Aeternian show. He's also actively running all of our social media now. So this is big for us, and is in part thanks to Nathan that we are able to grow like we are. So yes, let's absolutely not forget Nathan. Kingdom of Sanctimonious says, thank you. This will be a great day remembered in, this will be a day remembered in infamy. I am very grateful. I'm glad to hear. As well, infamy is a negative term. I don't think you mean infamy. Jaya Manu says, I think many micronations are created in Australia, right? I think there are. I think there are multiple nations that are created in Australia. Also, Jaya, do we have your nation on the map? I believe you sent an application, but I want to check to see if you're on the map for sure. If we haven't put you on the map, bug us about it, and we're going to put you on the map. I need to go back and look at all the applications, but I think we've gotten pretty well caught up. Soul said, Red says, I like peace. I'm happy with that. This? Yeah. Yeah, as long as it stays in the yellow, I generally chill with it. I think it's fine. So Soul says, why Vatican is not considered a micronation? Sad Roman Catholic noises. Because they don't actually exercise political authority like they used to, in medieval Europe and stuff during colonialism. Medieval Europe's different than colonialism, but throughout that whole time period, from the Renaissance on forward, and even a bit before that, the Catholic Church and Rome and the Vatican had huge political influence. Now they don't as much, so that's why it's not considered a micronation, but in many accounts it very well can be, and is in fact used as a huge measure for the strength and power of micronations. One of the largest, macronational entities that does exist in similar scale to any micronation is the Vatican. And so a lot of the time when people are comparing geographic land size for their power and strength, when they're comparing population for their power and strength, when they're talking about, how their economies, all of those generally get tied to and compared to the Vatican for that very reason. So that is a great point, and it is important. Swedish Milk says Palestine needs to be freed. Agreed. Soul says, is Gaza considered a micronation? There's only one city there, like LMAO. Even still, even if it was just a group inside of the city, yes, it should still be considered a micronation. I think the only reason it's not considered a micronation is because nobody in there has said, we want this to be a micronation. But to the Empire of Aeternia, if you declare a micronation, so long as its claims aren't absolutely ridiculous and unfounded, and are overcrossing other people's previously existing claims and legitimate claims, then we will support it. Sanctimonious says, I am also my friend. Oliver Hayes, the creator, says, Free Palestine. Hey, the creator actually did just join us. Hey, so that was the talk that we had. Earlier somebody made a reference and they were like, we need the creator in on this. And I thought they were talking about like religious stuff. No, somebody named Oliver Hayes, the creator, just jumped in. I appreciate it. They are related to, fun fact, Tyler, the creator. And they said, Free Palestine. Absolutely. Nathan says, we are at 199 for the Discord. We are so close to 200 on the Discord. I am flipping about it. We've been trying to get to 200 for such a long time, and then people get kicked out for doing like Nazi stuff, or doing like, you know, crazy spamming or whatever. And then we get close again. So right now we're almost there. Please guys, keep up the good behavior. Please guys, don't spam, and we will hit over that 200 mark. Armin says, if you're interested in political ramifications of Palestine and Israel, highly suggest you look up the war between Artsakh and Azerbaijan, which happened last year. Very similar situation. I will have to look it up. Thank you very much, Armin. And I appreciate your input. How does Sadistan fare in all of this? How do they discuss issues of geopolitics? And what is the official opinion? Scotland says, I am the rank Lieutenant General in Australia. Congratulations. I'm glad to hear that. Soul says, I have a lot of pro-Palestinian and pro-Arab memes. Hey, please hit them up in the Discord. Join us. Annie says, but do it in the memes section specifically. Annie says, hey, Sanctimonious, sweet fake war in East Greenland. I drink that. FNAF plush declaring war. I spit that. Ooh, interesting. Pulling a super hot fire meme. Jaya Manu says, no, I didn't send an application. You should, Jaya. Soul says, I will send the application when I make the flag. Ooh, you should. Nathan says, I'm so big brain. You're so big brain, Nathan. Nathan, not only are you big brain, you're solid meme Eternia brain. I appreciate you. The biggest, the most intellectual of brains. We appreciate you. The Emperor said, your dislikes went away. Hey, thank you. Finally, people saved us. The Emperor says, I guess they changed their minds. I appreciate it, yeah. If everybody jumped off of dislikes, that means a lot. Jaya says, wait, it's true, a lot less dislikes. Thank you, everybody, for first off, not doing horrible dislike bombing of the stream. I think it's important. I really do think it's an important topic, and I do appreciate anybody who did change their mind on the dislike, because it helps a lot. It helps a lot for us to spread the word about this situation, even if you don't like the Empire of Aeternia. This is just an important worldwide event that needs to be talked about and is important to keep history and track record of. As well, for our nation, it's important that we make a discussion about this and know where we sided in this situation politically, for history, for precedents, for posterity's sake. And while we do not have a direct support to either side of the conflict, we do condemn Israel's active bombing of civilian populations, and as well condemn Hamas attacks on civilian populations. But right now, it's primarily Israel who's killing a lot of civilians. Limper says, I think they were all watching at once. Ooh. Excuse me. Soul says, yay, dislikes went away. Limper says, I guess they changed their mind. Well, that was fast. Wait, a lot less dislikes. Soul said, until the schism with the Eastern. Soul says, yeah. Last thing I've seen from Palestine indicates a big debate in the Taiwanese Discord server. I'm on it. Hey, thank you very much. Please keep us updated. Limper says, I think they were all watching at once, or maybe a part of one micronation. Yeah, I imagine somebody probably spammed dislike. But I hope that we do have some sincere support now. The Kingdom of Annie says, so now that the likes healed the dislikes, we won the war? You know we did. We came out on top. Eternia every day. Soul says, I used to be the only pro-Palestinian in the server, but after some showings to some friends, I kind of converted 3 people. It's important to talk about. It really is. It's a political issue, but it's something that is necessary to discuss. I'm glad you've been sharing your opinion and trying to get others to do research on their own and to learn on their own. That's the biggest thing I can suggest to all of you. Hear my opinions, hear people's opinions in the chat, do research on your own. Come up with your own conclusions based on the logic that you support, but know that civilian population bombing is never cool. When you see this many civilians died, you should always feel bad, no matter what side has attacked those civilians. Kingdom of Annie, excuse me, says, Armin says, Sudastistan is not afraid to assert its opinions on our issues of human rights. The luxury of micronations is that our words are not watered or tied down by geopolitics. Agreed, and especially because they're not, like you said, they aren't, I guess you were saying weighted down, but they aren't diluted. They aren't, watered down. I agree. We have to be sincere and direct as micronations. Nathan says, I did a live feed on the Instagram for the dislike-like ratio. Hey, I appreciate it. Did it go well? Were you hype about it? Did we win? Did we jump up? Scotland says, my boss's name is King John I of Australia. Congratulations. And how is King John I doing? Frog says, orangutan god condemns. Also, is Australia a part of our map? If not, it should be. Frog says, orangutan god condemns what Israel is doing. Hey, very cool. Orangutan god, an entire religion going against the active bombing. It's really sad. The Korean name, I'm so sorry. I wish I could pronounce your name. If you give me a pronunciation in chat, I will try my best, but I may butcher it. But the person with the Korean name said almost 20 likes. Hey, thank you very much, and I'm excited for it. If we could get 20 likes, that'd be incredible. Right now we're at 18 likes and 2 dislikes. If y'all changed your dislikes, we can get it. Y'all already know we could hit that 20. It's all up to y'all. Do y'all want this? Do y'all want it bad enough? Or did the 18 people want to share the video enough to get the other 2 to be negligible and for us to get the 20 anyway? Regardless, I just want to say we are at an hour and 30 minutes. We've been talking about the Israel-Palestine issue. Real quick, I want to jump into our insights into, first off, let me see how many views we have right now. We are at 8 watching, but I'm curious as to how many actual views the video has gotten thus far. We'll go into YouTube Studio and we'll check that out, and then I can show you guys our watch time. We're at 1273 subs, by the way. We're almost to 1300, which is a big move for us. We'll hit 1275, which will be a big milestone, and then we will hit 1300 as well. Guys, please help us out with subscribers. Our subscribers have been fluctuating a little bit lately, and it means a lot for us to be able to keep that up. Right now, our watch time is 2626. So that's 2,626 public watch time hours, which isn't that different from the last time. We've kind of stayed basically the same, but we need to jump up. We need to find a way to get that big watch time boost, and I'm trying to figure out what more content you guys want, what different styles of content. So if you guys have any suggestions, please do let us know. As of right now, 166 views on this live stream. That is incredible. That's exactly what we look for, and that is how we are trying to continue to grow, is to talk about the ideas that are important, and even if they're controversial, to make sure that people are able to be heard in our chat from both sides, making sure people know that we are trying to be a nation that talks about these important issues and that stands up for what we believe in, just like you should. Hey, we hit over 20 likes. Thank you so much. Frog says 21 people liked. That's awesome. The name is the Korean Caliphate. Oh, that's true. You did tell me that. My apologies. The Korean Caliphate said the name translates to Korean Caliphate. Frog says 22 people like, 23, 24, 25. Thank you, Korean Caliphate. Thank you, Jaya Manu. Thank you, Frog. And thank you to Tiffany. Soul says back. I'm glad to see you, Soul. That's true. Real quick, I do need to shout out to my patrons before we wind the stream down. We have both, let me see who all our patrons. Well, I know Leanna is a patron of ours, and I know Matt is a patron of ours. Thank you so much to both Leanna and Matt as our patrons. They have been fantastic in helping and assisting to grow our country. For a long time, we had relied on the Patreon as our only source of income, and that was our very first source of income. So thank you all for continuing to keep that alive and to continue it to help slowly but surely grow Aeternia. As well, if you want to learn about becoming a citizen, but you don't want to make content for us, the Patreon is a great way. If you're interested in doing that, it gets you the citizenship role on our Discord, as well as many other features. And if you want a foreign dignitaries license, if you want to learn about our prestige system and how to get involved in that, you can also purchase the prestige license through our Patreon for your nation, but as well you can learn about what the prestige system is on our website and through the video we made about it. 26, Soul says 28 to me and 2 dislikes. Yeah, so we're just blowing it up. I appreciate y'all. Epic says, hello, Epic Filmmaker. I heard more stuff about Greenistan, and I'm excited to talk about that at some point. Nathan says, we've hit 200 members on Discord. Woo woo. We're getting up there. Annie says, oh no, not you. Soul says, Israel is attacking. Oh goodness, are they actively, like, doing a thing? Hold up. Epic says, just real quick, does Aeternia recognize Palestine? We do recognize the Palestinian people as needing a state, yes. But again, we're not trying to pick one side or the other. Two-state solution. Leanna says, I'm back. Let me see if there's an active thing going on right now. Hold on. Is Rayo Palestine Conflict? Let's see if there's any breaking news. 26 minutes ago, live thing. Finally, 23 minutes ago, Joe Biden called for an Israel-Palestine ceasefire amidst bipartisan pressure to end bloody conflict in Gaza. Finally, Joe Biden calls for a ceasefire. He was going sneaky at first to being like, we defend Israel's right to self-preservation or whatever. They're just bombing people. You gotta talk about it. Finally, look, okay. Aeternia talked about it before Joe Biden did. I will say that. Aeternia condemned the issue before Joe Biden did. That is an important thing to bring up. Micronations are first on the scene. This is the thing. We need more step up from our macronational leaders. We need more people to be upfront and outspoken about that this is an issue so that our leaders will do something about it. Nathan said, Lana said, greetings to Tiffany. Much love.
Greetings, Leon.
Nathan says, you can go on the easy way like Steven or the hard way like me, where you make content on Aeternia, but still rising through the ranks and still continuing to grow. Nathan actively making a huge cultural impact on Aeternia in a way that has been done by just a few other people. Just really Steven and Gray are the only people who have made just as much of an impact as Nathan has. So that's quite a significant contribution for Nathan, and that shouldn't be understated. Frog says, hey Winslow, have you heard of Chelskip? And also Leanna. I do want to bring up Leanna and Matt as well. Our aristocrats just doing a lot for our culture as well. And also giving fantastic feedback in our comments. So much love to Leanna, much love to Matt and Drew, all those people who have been helping us out as well from a standpoint of being external to our government. Our citizens have been taking up the reins and the slack for what we've needed to do for quite a while now. Frog says, hey Winslow, have you heard of Czechoslovakia? I haven't. What is it? Annie says, epic filmmaker, I tell Aeternia to roast Sanctimonia. Soul says, Aeternia is trying to be neutral. Trying, yes, I am trying, but there is legitimate issues that are happening right now that we have to condemn before we can try to be even reasonably or logically neutral. Epic Filmmaker said, I think that's a big part of being neutral, is actually pointing out when a side does something wrong. Being neutral doesn't mean you don't talk about it. Being neutral means that you try to understand both sides, and you have to be able to condemn things that are just absolute atrocities if you're going to do that. Epic says, Kingdom of Annie, oh no. Leanna says, slow Joe Biden. Exactly, it took him forever. Just came out with it 23 minutes ago. A condemnation 23 minutes ago. Or not even a condemnation, just a ceasefire. Just saying, hey guys, let's stop killing civilians maybe. Gosh, slow Joe Biden. Annie says, I told them to roast you. Annie said they did roast me. Annie says, SLOW. Nazarian says, 2 hours ago they were shelling, so yeah, they were attacking. Yes, there's active attacks going on right now, and I pray for everybody who is actively getting attacked. I hope everybody is able to evacuate. If you have any families, loved ones in the area, please keep us updated, but please check out on them and do everything that you can. Go to different places to support human rights issues. I actually want to do that before I end the stream. That's probably going to be the last thing that I do. We're going to keep covering this story. There's probably going to be a third one pretty quickly because this is just not stopping. And we need to continue to press this issue. And the micronational community needs to keep talking about this until there is some progress. Until there's some sit down at the table. You cannot just be a passive actor in the situation. You can't just passively watch atrocities and not consider yourself a part of the problem. So, that being the case, Red Cross Palestine. Red Cross Israel, Red Cross Palestine. Let's see. Palestine Red Crescent. Palestine Red Crescent Society shares expertise in psychosocial support for refugees with decades of experience providing psychological support. Red Cross and Red Crescent mobilizes help for the Palestinian population. Red Cross and Red Crescent societies from around the world have mobilized assistance. If you would like to help support, please help the Red Cross. Please go to these different areas and support people who are actively being bombed and attacked. Please support, please donate. Go to whatever groups, whatever organizations you feel like are able to help the citizens, the populations who are civilian and are innocent in this time. You know, I generally don't try to advertise outside sources. I generally don't try to do big like fundraising campaigns or whatever, but this is just something important. If you can give, if you feel comfortable, you know, there are people dying and it's important. Israeli Defense Forces on Twitter said, following the activation of a warning in the Miskov area, 6 launches from Lebanese territory were identified, which were apparently fell in Lebanese territory. It's just getting crazier. More countries are getting dragged into this, and it's an issue. Annie says, plus if we get into a war, and if we win, we will revive Glamrocky as a territory. Oh, okay, that's micronational stuff. Soul says, Qatari media, Al Jazeera on Twitter, Israeli media, explosions reverberate in the Kiryat Shimona settlement in northern Israel. Israel's getting bombed, Lebanon's getting bombed, everybody is getting attacked. I have some friends that I met in college who are from Lebanon. Absolutely, I hope their families, their friends, their extended relatives are okay. And I hope everybody can take time to just mourn and reflect the absolute atrocities that are happening right now because of the geopolitics of the situation, because of all the money that's involved. And we have to step up and say something. So thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you. We're going to start winding down the stream now, but I just want to refresh our page one more time to show how many people are actively supporting us right now on this stream. We have 179 views as of the end of this video. It'll probably get to 200 there pretty quick. We had 228 on the last one. 26 likes on this video. 26 likes. 27 from people helping. We have 10 live viewers, and this is something that is absolutely crucial for us to talk about. So thank you all for helping to be a part of the change. Thank you all for not letting the micronational community sit by on this. They were trying to dislike. There were people who were trying to shut it down, and we stood up. We made our voices heard. We made a change. So thank you all very much for being a part of that, helping us to be a part of that. Again, our monetization 2626. If you guys can watch old live streams, if you guys want to comment on some of our newer stuff, if you want to give us ideas, hit us up in the Discord. We want to grow those watch time hours. We want to make it more exciting for you to view more and more of our content and to share that content. We want people to be ecstatic about micronationalism. And so if there's some ideas that you have for what we can do to help improve the viewership for you and your excitement about what we're doing, please let us know. The last thing I'm going to do, I think, is show our website, because there may be some people who don't know about our website. But of course, here's the Imperial Market. Well, this is really the Empire of Aeternia's website, eternianempire.wixsite.com/Imperial Market. This shows everything. This is our micronations of the world map. We have a ton of micronations, as you can see, a ton in the US and Canada. We have a ton in Europe. We have some in the Middle East, starting to get in the Middle East a little bit. We have Sanctimonia, which is in, oh goodness, Sanctimonia is in Kyrgyzstan. We have Pakistan and Pakistan, and then we have, of course, Avigation Vision of Radiator in near Gurugam in Delhi as well. We have our Korean nations, which I wanted to talk about earlier. We have Filipino nation in the, oh goodness, I remember the name, but I'm forgetting it at the moment. Blaztopia. Yes, we have Blaztopia in the Philippines. Shout out to our Asian micronations, our South Korean micronations, our Chinese micronation, which jumped in for a minute, Crusarian Empire, and then we didn't hear from them again. So I hope there isn't any issue with micronations being able to represent themselves in China. But from the Taiwan situation and from the Hong Kong situation, we know that that might be a potential possibility. It might be something even that we have to bring up in the future. So we will be discussing very, very soon. Again, we have, Middle Eastern micronations, Bulgaria, Turkey, that area. We have Spanish micronations, of course, Portuguese micronations. And now we need those Swedish micronations. We have one in Norway, one in Finland. We don't have one in Sweden. We don't have one in Poland as well. Oh, we do. We have Truteau that's actually in Poland. So if we got another Polish micronation, we could have two micronations in Poland. We could be advancing the micronational community there. We have 13 viewers right now. Jaya says, I miss non-live stream uploads, to be honest. Well, we have a few of those. If you haven't checked out our most recent one, it was describing the prestige system, which is one of the hugest things we're doing right now. So if you are interested in learning more about that, I recommend you check that out, because that's what we're moving on a lot behind the scenes. But we will continue to make more stuff like that for sure, Jaya. So if that's what you're interested in, do not worry, this will be a summer of edited content for sure. But we will continue the live streams. It helps a lot with our watch time, so that's the biggest reason. Our capital's in Greenland. Oh, interesting. Korean Caliphate said, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. Thank you for talking about this in a stream. Of course, I'm sorry if I butchered that pronunciation, but I am so glad to have you supporting us. I'm so glad to have you with us. Thank you very much for helping us and supporting us and standing up and talking about this very, very difficult and controversial issue. Everyone on every side, thank you so much for having an honest, sincere discussion of what is happening right now in the world. We will continue to talk about this as things unfold. We will continue to update on social media, on Twitter. Thanks to Nathan. If you learned stuff from us, shout out to him. We're headed out. Leanna said Aeternia forever. Annie said yes you did. The Emperor said I don't think Sanctimony is from Kyrgyzstan. I mean, watch the videos. He doesn't sound like he's from that region. Interesting. I will have to watch the videos and I'll have to ask them about that. We do need a better fact checker for our for our micronational map. So if you guys are interested, please definitely hit us up. Soul says you can donate to Bitcoin to Al Qaeda. Okay. Soul says fans of VTuber donate Bitcoin to Al Qasim brigades and request anime girls to be printed on Hamas rockets. Oh goodness. Annie says no. Would you? I don't know that you should just blindly support weapons either. I don't think purchasing weapons is a good way to go either. No, it was you, like FNAF, so you made Glamrockia. I saw your final plush video, so we know this is fake. Also, stop stealing content from Malasia and West Arnica. I'm curious as to who that is. Oh, Greenland. Greenistan. Lana said Eternia forever. Epic Filmmaker said petition for an Eternia flag emoji. Agreed. Jaya says I saw it, remember my comment. Nathan says Eternia forever. Epic says Emperor, he uses a voice changer. Gotta go for a bit. Bye Epic. Annie says like what you did with Glamrock Freddy. I'm curious about this. Korean Caliphate said Eternia forever. Eternia forever and Korean Caliphate forever. We appreciate you. Kingdom of Annie said you role player. Entrepreneur said yeah I know. Darren says well AP, you've seen my thoughts on this issue the other day. One big snafu. It is a crazy situation. Thank you Darren for hanging out with us. King Darren, thank you for supporting our live streams and for participating in a hard discussion. Lana says AP, check out 712 on the comments. I will have to go back later on in the video and check that out. 712 on the comments. I can't go back right now. I'm in Social Blade, not Social Blade. I'm on Streamlabs right now, so it's hard for me to see that. But I do appreciate it, and we will be discussing more and more very, very soon. I keep saying this right before we leave, but I keep wanting to hit it to see if we hit 200. I don't think we're going to hit 200 before we leave, but we're about to head out. I just want to look at our live thing again. 179. Ooh, is it for real just stayed at 179? Let me refresh. Yep, 190. Hey, we're almost to 200 views already. 14 live viewers, 26 likes, 92.9% likes versus dislikes. That is a great ratio, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the micronational community and the community around the world interested in this topic supporting us. Lana said, I got my notes and ID today. Are you hype? I'm hyped for you. I want us as Eternians to be able to walk around and show people that in public. I hope that is something that you can be proud of, Leana. And please tell us more things that we can do to help make you feel like a more proud Eternian. I have some ideas for products that I would like to pass by you and see if that's something you think would be interesting to develop as a part of our culture, as part of, showing off to people, this is what we look like, this is what Eternians are, this is who Eternians are, this is how we do things, and to get people to be able to recognize just from looking at someone, that's probably an Eternian. And I'm excited for that. Eskimo says, bye AP, bye Tiffany, I think the stream's ending. We are, bye Eskimo, it was good to see you. Edwin, good to see you as well. He says he's been doing homework while watching this. Good luck on your homework, Edwin, we appreciate you, and I hope for you all success in your future endeavors, and I know that education will bring you a wonderful future. Armin says, glory to Eternia from Sawdustistan, glory to Sawdustistan, and glory to Eternia. Annie says, East Greenland is basically a micronation that steals content. Also, Armin, Sawdustistan makes cool stuff. Hit us up about like alliances and making content and stuff. Just hit us up. Leona says, much love to UAP, love to Tiffany. Darren says, oh, BTW AP have made the first primitive high guard practice work. Held the vote of lords. They chose mark instead of dollar. Excited to hear that. I can't wait to see them. Eskimo says I should get my owl's mark in the next week or so. Yes, you should. We're actively trying to send that out. Sorry, there was a delay. We've had to refresh that. But yes, you should be getting your owl's mark very soon. I actually am going to put that into the mail more than likely tomorrow. So tomorrow that should be sent out. We will have tracking information for you tomorrow. So once we hit the completed button on your Etsy order, that will let you know that things are done, and we should send tracking. That's going to be for most of our packages. Anything that is a letter by mail that we can send, a lot of just individual note purchases and stuff won't have tracking with them, but are generally only 3-4 days for most cases shipping. With the packages, with things like the rings, The owls marks, the unity medals, those are sometimes harder to get clear dates on, but now that we have tracking information for all orders, not all orders, all package-based orders, all parcel orders as they're called, we can update you on that, and we'll let you know exactly when it should be there. So that way, if there's any issues, you can let us know, we can follow the tracking and get something back to you. Liana said, Eternia forever. Annie says, no one expects. Everybody have a good night. I appreciate you, Eskimo. I appreciate you, Jaya. I appreciate you, Leana. I appreciate you, Annie. I appreciate you, everyone. Have a good night, everybody.